Hope you're doing well. Well, as you can during these difficult times. So today we're doing rhyme and meter. There's just two assignments today. It didn't really make sense to break it up into like three different assignments since we're just kind of looking at two things. So today, it's just meter and rhyme. That's all. Well, not today, but I guess this week we're just going to be looking at meter and rhyme. So just two assignments that I'll outline in a second. Before that, I just wanted to go over some general class news. I asked you all last week just like some general questions about how the class is going and how we want to alter it to better fit our situation. Something that people were pretty unanimously behind is that the reading response is going to get cut to 5 reading responses instead of 10. Some of you have already done more than 5. And I mean, you are, in a sense, getting more of your money's worth for the class, in the sense that you're getting more feedback, you're getting more instruction on how to do analysis, and when you get to the final, the final project, that's going to be easy for you because you've had more practice. However, since you've also done more work, anyone can do more reading responses than 5, and each reading response you do over 5 will be 1 percentage point of extra credit on your final grade. So like not 1 point, but like 1 percentage point. So, like if you had an 89 and you did 6 instead of 5, it would bring you to a 90 and you would get an A. So if you've already done more than 5, those extra credit points are already being added, so that'll be a good boost. That's something that'll get added at the end of the semester. I think that's the biggest change in terms of the reading responses. I think what we're doing for the last week, because I want to do another round of conferences and folios, the last week of class is going to be a week of optional WebEx conferences with me. We'll just do one-on-one and schedule a time sort of like we normally do, and we'll set up a WebEx meeting and go over your poems through WebEx. If you don't want to do the meeting the last week, that's fine. Folios will still be due, and what I'll do instead is, instead of getting face-to-face time and getting, to like interact and ask questions and that sort of thing, what I'll end up doing is I'll just, later in the video today, like, it's just a video, like it's just like a screencast, like you don't see my face or anything, but it'll just need to be talking over your poem, so you kind of get more deeper feedback that way. So that's what we'll be doing for the final week after we have workshop. And workshop is going to be online through Canvas. The week before, I believe, is Maggie Nelson's Bluets, so we're going to be doing Bluets, and then also just kind of prepping for workshop, setting up expectations, that sort of thing. And then the week after that, the only assignment will be workshop, in which you'll be getting your peers' work, and you'll be using Canvas's tools to annotate them, or you can just use words like comment feature, however you want to do it. We'll go over it more later. Also, something I'm going to be doing every week to kind of like make up for like the interaction, the face-to-face time. What I'm going to be doing is every Wednesday. I'm thinking from 11 to 1. The time might vary. I can adjust the day, like, whatever fits best for people, because it's not going to be during our class time, because that just, it seems too early and also too short, just in general, for the sort of thing is trying to replace. But every week, I'll be sending out a WebEx link, and it'll be the same link every time. It's just going to be, like, my personal room or whatever WebEx calls it. And it's just going to be, again, it's optional, but it's just going to be me waiting here, and I'll just be available for questions, go over an assignment, go over a concept, if you're having a lot of trouble with meter, or rhyme or something like that, or you want me to look at a poem, I'll just be available to talk, Again, completely optional. If you want to stop in for just like 2 minutes to ask a quick question about assignment, that's great. If you want to stay longer and talk more about poetry or a larger concept, that's great too. Yeah, so I think that's all like sort of the news and announcements I have for right now. Reading responses are down from 10 to 5. If you've done more than 5, you're getting 1 percentage point extra credit for each. A weekly meeting on Wednesdays, that's optional, from 11 to 1 or so is when I'll be free. And the last week we're going to be doing the optional conferences online, but still be thinking of what you want to put in your folio. Because the folio is still going to be due for everybody, but just the face-to-face will be optional. I'll still give feedback one way or another. Alright. So I mentioned earlier, I've just broken up this week into 2 assignments, meter and rhyme. And this is the meter video, so let's talk about meter. So meter is just sort of the rhythm and cadence of a poem, and we're going to be looking at scansion, which is figuring it out. These are sort of concepts that they're kind of harder to grasp, like sort of in abstract, and are much easier to grasp sort of like concretely. So let's look at this line from Elegy in a Country Churchyard that's just on the Canvas page. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. I said it funny and like the ba-boom, 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 because it's an iambic pentameter, which is a form of meter. And meter is really just a way of codifying and explaining the weight we put on words and why. So you look on it and you'll see the first letter in each little section is, not first letter, first word in each section is lowercase, and the second word or the second syllable is bold and capitalized. The ones that are just regular are unstressed syllables. The ones that are bold and capitalized are stressed. An unstressed syllable is one you just don't put the weight on it. It's usually like a consonant sound that's not hard. So just like it's more of like a soft H sound. There's nothing there. Cur has a hard R sound, and that's more of a resonant consonant, and that's just something we put more weight on when we say the word. Something to also look for stressed syllables is long vowel sounds. So we have cur, tolls, knell, part, day. So looking at that, the long O in tolls is something to look for, which is something which makes it stressed. And knell, it's the other resonant consonant of L. For part, it's also the dry A of pot. I'm from Boston. Hey, I'm on a party with clam chowder. Sorry, that accent was so bad. And then for day, obviously, we just have the regular A sound of A. I'm having a party with clam chowder. Part, knell, tolls, sorry. It's hard to do meter humor. But so basically that's what makes something unstressed and what makes something stressed. Scansion seems very formal, very objective, very hard to figure out, but it really is sort of, there is an element of subjectivity to it, because like different dialects of the English language are going to pronounce words differently, different regions of the same dialect are going to pronounce it differently, like West Coast, East Coast, Southern U.S. versus Northern U.S., we're going to pronounce things differently, and people from different regions are going to scan stuff differently. However, there is sort of like a core of how we say things, just generally, and like each dialect is aware of how other dialects say stuff usually. And so there is some trial and error to it, trying to figure out a certain person's scansion. But it's still a really valuable tool for figuring out how we use language, and how we craft a line of a poem, getting like way down into the nitty-gritty. Usually in scansion, you'll see like a U over an unstressed and a slash over a stressed. I can't do that in Canvas because the special characters tab doesn't have those, which is great. But yeah, that's just some basic notation. And you'll see that Elegy in a Country Churchyard line it has vertical lines in between the syllables. So one of the most common ways to break down meter is into iambs. An iamb is 2 syllables in a line. The first iamb is, the first syllable in an iamb is unstressed, the second is stressed. You see the cur, few tolls. That's an iamb, and that's going to be the poems that we're going to be looking at for this assignment. That's going to be the basic unit of the construction of the line. I'm sure you've heard of iambic pentameter. Iambic is the group of 2 syllables, the first one unstressed, the second one stressed, and pentameter is 5. So there's 5 of those in a line. 5 iambs in a line, 5 groups of unstressed and stressed syllables in a line. So that's bad, If there were 6 in a line, it would be iambic hexameter. If there were 3, it would be iambic trimeter. 2 would be dimeter. 7 would be heptameter. I did figure out the 7. A stanza of 7 lines is a heptave, which sounds weird, but oh well. I think people just avoid that word because it's weird. So going back to just meter as a definition, Meter is what type of foot you're using. So an iam's a type of foot. There's ones where the basic foot is 3 lines, and that's something else. Like you might be looking at like dactylate hexameter or something like that. Anapestic monometer, stuff like that. We're really only going to look at iams. So don't worry too much about the other ones. But that's what meter is. It's the type of feet you have and how many feet you have per line. That's basically what meter is. So exceptions to the rules for iams. Not every poem is in perfect iambic pentameter. Sometimes you'll have a little iamb where both syllables are stressed. That's called a spondee. People use it to bring emphasis to a word. I mean, sometimes it's like, it's just how it shakes out. Sometimes they want to bring emphasis to certain concepts or certain words. Sometimes you get a pyrrhic foot where there's 2 unstressed syllables. A lot of times those are in conjunction with a spondee. So like before the spondee, you'll have a pyrrhic one. It's very comparable to music. It's very comparable to like, if any of you have been in like orchestra or marching band or something like that, you've done the exercise where you'll be looking at sheet music, and instead of just like, going like, I played trumpet, so I'm going to go, instead of just playing it right away, you'll look at the music and like ignoring the notes and pitch and stuff like that. You'll just be like going over the meter, the rhythm, trying to get down the rhythm before you do that. That's kind of what it is. So like, pyrrhic foot offsets the spondee in that it's like, and it just sort of adds balance to the line in the speech, while also adding emphasis, If you have something that's all spondees, there's a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins, God's Grandeur is kind of one with a lot of spondees. It's really intense and certainly a way to do it, but it's not usually like, there's like no spondaic meter. It's usually an exception to the rule for other meters that people use sparingly. So we did spondee and pyrrhic foot. A trochee is just where the stressed syllable comes first, and then there's the unstressed. Again, just sometimes how it works out, but again, bring emphasis to a certain line. Sometimes, especially going through some poems, it'll be like, there's so few regular iams that we're like, wait, why is it like this? Like, what's the point of writing it in iambic pentameter if there's going to be so many exceptions? But it's one of those things where the exceptions prove the rule. Because we have this baseline of da 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 da, Icus gives us something to react against, something to sort of base our rhythms off of. For examples, just of the things, I have the first 4 lines of Sonnet 65, which I recommend reading all of it, of course. I'm just going to read those out loud real quick. Since brass, nor stone, nor earth, nor boundless sea, but sad mortality o'ersways their power, how with this rage shall beauty hold a plea, whose action is no stronger than a flower. Now I'm sort of like reading it in a very affected way to sort of get the meter, and I actually misread the beginning of the 3rd line. Instead of like, how with, I said, how with, instead of, how with this rage, So instead of going like, how with this rage, I went, how with this rage, which is incorrect. That one's, the beginning of the 3rd line is a trochee, where we start with the how, because we do have the vowel sound, the ha, that's a vowel sound. And then the with is definitely, a lot of times unstressed syllables will be conjunctions. It'll be words that they don't want to put stress on because they don't carry a lot of inherent meaning except to connect other words. So that's something to look out for when you're figuring out meter. So that's a trochee. Also, in the 2nd line, in the 4th foot, we can also see the pyrrhic foot and then the spondee. But sad, mortality, or sways, itty there, itty, that's a fun little iamb there. Itty is the pyrrhic, nothing really to accentuize there, it's just mortality. And then we have or sways, and or sways is accented because, it's kind of trying to emphasize like sad mortality's or swaying, its power. And you'll notice in the iamb after that, power is also accented. And you also might be thinking, well, wait, this is an iambic pentameter, so there should only be 10 syllables a line. But if you're like, and it's time for finger counting, which is fun. But sad, mortality, or sways, there, power. I also always hold my pinky down, so I'm just going to do that again. But sad, mortal, it, or sways, their power. That would really be 11 because power is really 2 syllables. But again, it's an exception to the rule. But it's also sort of said in one word to try to keep to the 10, though you can see that either way. So there's a little something about that. So also before moving on to the assignment for the day, also just look up dactyl ballymeter and blank verse and syllabic verse in the back of the book. If you don't have the book with you or got left somewhere, I have the glossary scanned, and there will be a link to it on the Canvas page after that. Though I do recommend looking all of these up because the book is really good about listing examples in the glossary that are in the book. So, like, if you're not sure what something is in any poem, you can just go back and flip to it and then find it and see the example and also have a really good definition. So, really handy book in that way. But so the assignment today is from a website called For Better Reverse from University of Virginia. It's basically like a website that lets you scan poems. What you're going to turn in for the assignment is you're going to turn in screenshots of the completely scanned poem. So one way or another, you'll just be taking a screenshot on your laptop. For Windows machines, you normally just hold down the Windows button while you hit the Windows button and the print screen button at the same time. That takes a screenshot. I don't know about for Mac, but it's easy enough to Google. You probably all know how to do it. And you'll just be sending me a screenshot of the poem that's completely scanned. So all the things on the right, for A Dying Speech of an Old Philosopher, it'll be entirely green. For Sonnet 73, it'll be almost entirely green, but I explain that more in the next portion of the video where I show you how to do it. See you on the internet.
Hey everybody, so this is just going to be a quick tutorial about For Better Reverse. It's pretty easy, also just like a little introduction to scansion overall. So how it works is a really cool interactive tool. I really like it. I'm very glad Virginia just, makes this available for everybody to use. It's really nice. And just to get us used to the system, I'm just going to scan roses are red for us. So have y'all heard of this poem? Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. So what we want to do when we scan is we want to figure out where the feet are, like how the syllables are grouped inside the lines, and where the stresses on the words are, inside those feet, where the stresses are. So first, let's look at their feet. So as we highlight, you can see that it highlights gray blocks of text as we go over it. Each highlighted section it breaks down the syllables for you. So we can see there's 4 syllables in this line. Now I'm going to go out on a wild limb, clicking on the line here to make this vertical line appear, dividing this into 2 feet. So 2 iambs, it would be iambic dimeter. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go over here and click on this, which is the check meter button. When I click on it, this will come up, and it gives you the options to choose what you need to. So I'm thinking this is an iambs, just because that's the most common. So I'm going to do iambic. It's not an iambic monometer because there's more than 1 foot. There's 4 syllables, so it's probably an iambic dimeter. So I'm going to do that, and let's see if it's right. Well, you look at that. It's almost like I knew that already. And then it says, so for each one, we'll just go down and keep doing that. So we've identified that this poem is an iambic dimeter. Now we have to figure out the syllables, the stresses. And so we can pretty much just go through down here and break the lines up into 2 iambs. An iamb is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So here, the little feet icon is checking the feet, so we're making sure we've broken up the lines into correct groups. So I'm just going to do this one incorrectly on purpose. So yep, that one's right, that one's right, that one's right, that one's wrong. So I'm just going to get rid of that one, it'll be right. And now we have to figure out the meter. So I'm going to say it out loud again. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. So it's definitely, let's just see if it's in regular iambic pentameter. with just standard iambs of an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed. Let's see. Oh no, it's not. I've been bamboozled. So let's play with it. Let's see what we can do. And something that's just a good rule of thumb is even though we know that first line wasn't right, we'll just go through and do the standard unstressed followed by a stressed for all of them. And see if that gives us anything, you know? Nope. Nope. Oh, so this last one is in regular iambic pentameter. And the regular da-da, da-da. So the rest of them aren't. So if only one line's sticking out, it seems like a good guess that, obviously these ones are all different. The first three lines are all different. But I wonder if they all use sort of the same thing. But, so let's play around. Regularities here. Sorry I had to cut. Jasper bit me and I yelped. So it's not just in the regular iambs. So let's check for irregularities based on the sound. Roses are red. Roses. Roses. When I say that, it feels like I'm putting most of the weight on the first syllable. Roses. That's definitely what that I accentuate is the one I say in the higher pitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this iamb is a spondee. Or instead of a normal iamb where it's unstressed followed by a stressed, they're both stressed. So let's check because R red, R definitely feels like there's not a vowel sound in it. It's just kind of a conjunction. Red definitely feels like the stressed syllable, so let's see if that's right. Damn it, it's not. Alright. Maybe we're going to check if roses is a pyrrhic. So a pyrrhic foot is one where neither are stressed. Maybe this is very much like a roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. That doesn't sound right when I say it out loud, but let's check. Oh, it's not. Well, let's check one more common thing to see if it's a trochee. So the normal iamb is unstressed and stressed. A trochee is a stressed followed by an unstressed. Let's see, is that right? Hey, it is. It gives me the serotonin when I get all the greens. Now since all these three lines sound kind of the same, roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you, let's just try out that construction for all of the lines and see if it works. Oh, hey, got it. There we go. So there is sort of a lot of trial and error as you go through these, and this is just a very simple example, just to kind of get you the idea of how for better reverse works. You'll see this light bulb here. The light bulb is a note, and the Simply Famous lyric has only one trick up its prosodic sleeve, but that's all it needs. And then it tells you here one trochee, one iamb, normalize a rising meter, iambic dimeter, and then the last line is different. And these notes are really good. The other two poems we'll be looking at, The Dying Philosopher and Sonnet 73, there will be these light bulb notes, and they're very helpful in matters of interpretation, and sort of like why a poet would vary the meter, like what that does to the poem, how that affects why we read it. And this one's done by Anonymous, but it works, it's sweet, and it's because the last line is, and so are you. Because it's turning around from like, oh, these things are nice, these things are obvious, but you're sweet, It's just kind of, it's just like flirting 101, You just kind of turn it around to say something nice at the end to them. I think just a few things that I didn't quite mention. We'll be looking at longer lines eventually. Dying Speech of an Old Philosopher is, this is the one, looking at this is the one where I expect you to, just like we did in Roses and Red, Violets, or Blue, I expect you to have all of these green. This one is a lot more complex. I'll give you a hint, it's still basically an iambic something. And you'll have to figure that out, count the syllables, do some analysis, but if you're like doing it and you just can't get the stress syllables and stuff like that, this little icon here is a broom, and it just clears them all away. I recommend going through and doing the feet first. But once you're done doing the feet, if you don't like seeing those icons and you just want to focus on stressed and unstressed, what you can do is down here, you can just unclick this box, and it saves your foot division. It's still there, but it just makes it so you can't see it if you just want to focus on like the da on saying it out loud so it doesn't distract you. Same thing if you're just trying to figure out the feet if you started with the stress. This little broom here, if it's a longer line, you're just like, I just want to start over and redo it. You can just do the broom and it resets entirely. You know, nothing too wrong with that. Definitely just a lot of trial and error. So the assignment is to send a screenshot of Dying Speech of an Old Philosopher with all of these entirely green and correct. And for Sonnet 73, so this one's in warming up. It's not too much. It shouldn't take much. Sonnet 73, which we've read before, is in the moving along. And to be frank, we just don't have a lot of time to spend on scansion as I would like to. It's one of the things about teaching a survey course, an introduction class to a whole thing, is that we just kind of like dip our toes into stuff. And for this one, I don't expect you to have all these green because it's frankly, it's difficult. And this is going to take you a while. And it may be like, oh, I'm only giving you 2 poems to scan. It's still going to take a significant amount of time and effort. And especially for this one, I mentioned just going over meter before. I'm recording this in reverse order. That scansion it's very regimented. It's a thing that requires a lot of specific knowledge, but it's not necessarily like objective. There's different way to scan lines, and when you read like "In me thou seest the twilight of such day," it might strike you as being said or scanned in such a certain way you won't be able to find it. But all that to say that I don't expect you to have all of these green. A 14-line sonnet, 3 times 12 is 42. That's neat. Wait, no. 3 times 14. Oh, that is 42. Okay, yeah. 42. So out of the 42, I expect you to have all these green. These ones are pretty easy. But out of these 42 symbols, try to get at least 35 of these green. If you can't get them all green, that's okay. I don't want you to like be banging your head against the wall because you can't be like, how do I, is death a stress syllable, is this a trochee, whatever, like stuff like that. I don't want you to have to beat your head against the wall for hours trying to figure it out, trying to get it perfect. If you do get it perfect, that's great. That's lovely, and you should definitely try to. But if you only get 35, or if you only get 36 out of these correct out of the 42, that's perfectly acceptable to me. Yeah, and that's all we're doing for meter today, so I hope it goes well. Feel free to ask me questions. As a reminder, this Wednesday I am kind of doing an office hour. It's an entirely optional. You do not have to come to this. You'll get a link for a WebEx meeting on Wednesday. I'm thinking about just keeping it open from 11 to 1 for people to come in and out as they need to or want to. It's entirely optional. It's not a class session. But if you want to just talk to me like face to face and just like have me explain something or help you with a line, help you with scanning a line, or help you with a line from your own poetry or something like that, or any questions, I'll just be available for that face to face contact. I hope this exercise goes well for you, and good luck.
Had to go get Jasper. Couldn't let the video end without him getting to see y'all. He's being very good because he was sleepy. Look at this little sleepo beepo. Alright, bye everyone, yeah. Just to recap, reading responses down to 5. I'll be available for weekly videos, weekly conferences, on Wednesdays usually. And turn in your screenshots. And the screenshots. The screenshots and the rhyme assignment, they're both going to be due Friday at midnight. That just seems easier. So, well, I hope you're all having a good day, and I hope you have a good week. Say bye, Jasper. Bye. He's actually thinking, how do I escape?